objective questions of R.S Khurmi for Mechanical Engineering, Chapter 1, Engineering Mechanics. The term force may be defined as an agent which produce or tend to produce, destroy or tend to destroy motion. Agree. The force which act on a body may change the motion, balance the force already act on it, give rise to the internal stress in it, all of these. In order to determine the effect of force act on a body, we must know the magnitude of the force, the line of action of the force, the nature of the force, that is whether the force is pull or push, all of these. The unit of force in SI system is Newton. 1 kg force is equal to 9.8 Newton. A resultant force is a single force which produces the same effect as produced by all the given force act on a body. True. The process of finding out the resultant force is called composition of forces. The algebraic sum of the resolved part of number of forces in a given direction is equal to the resolved part of their resultant in the same direction. This is known as principle of resolution of forces. The vector method for the resolution forces is called polygon law of forces. Correct. The resultant of force P and Q act an angle theta is under root P square plus Q square plus 2PQ cos theta. If the resultant of two forces P and Q act at an angle theta makes an angle alpha with the force P, then tan alpha is equals to Q sin theta plus by P plus Q cos theta. The resultant of force P and Q, such as P is greater than Q, act along the same straight line but in opposite direction, is given by P minus Q. The resultant of two equal forces P makes an angle theta is given by 2P cos theta by 2. The resultant of two forces each equal to P and act at an right angle is under root 2P. The angle between two forces when the resultant is maximum and minimum respectively are 0 degree and 180 degree. If the resultant of two equal forces has the same magnitude as either of the forces, then the angle between the two forces is 120 degree. The resultant of two forces P and Q is R. If Q is double, the new resultant is perpendicular to P. Q is equal to R. Two forces are acting at an angle 120 degree. The bigger force is 40 Newton and the resultant is perpendicular to the same one. The smaller force is 20 Newton. The term leverage and mechanical advantage for a compound lever has got the same meaning, right? The number of forces acting at a point will be in equilibrium if the sum of the resolved part in the vertical direction is 0, that is sigma V is equals to 0, and sum of the resolved part of horizontal direction is 0, that is sigma H is equals to 0. If the number of forces are acting at a point, their resultant is given by under root sigma V square plus sigma H square. The two equal forces at right angle acting at a point, the value of force R acting along their bisector and its opposite direction is under root 2P. If the number of forces are acting at a point, their resultant will be inclined at an angle theta with the horizontal such that tan theta is equal to sigma v by sigma h. The triangle law of forces states that if two forces act simultaneously on the particle be represented in magnitude and direction by the two sides of the triangle taken in order, then their resultant may represent the magnitude and the direction of the third side of the triangle taken in opposite order. True. The polygon law of forces states that if a number of forces acts simultaneously on a particle be represented in magnitude and direction by the side of polygon taken in order, then their resultant is represented in magnitude and direction by the closing side of polygon taken in opposite direction. Correct. Concurrent forces are those forces whose line of action meet at one point. If the resultant of a number of forces acting on a body is 0, then the body will not be in equilibrium. No, it will be in equilibrium. The forces which meet at one point and their line of action do not lie on a same plane, then it is called non-coplanar concurrent forces. The forces which do not meet at one point but their line of action lies on a same plane and they are known as coplanar non-concurrent. Agree. The forces which meet at one point but their line of action do not lie on a same plane, it is known as non-coplanar concurrent forces. The forces which do not meet at one point and their line of action do not lie on a same plane, it is called non-coplanar non-concurrent. Coplanar non-concurrent forces are those forces which do not meet at one point but their line of action lies on a same plane. Coplanar concurrent forces are those forces which meet at one point and their line of action also lies on a same plane. Non-coplanar concurrent forces are those forces which meet at one point but their line of action do not lie on a same plane. Non-coplanar non-concurrent forces are those forces which do not meet at one point and their line of action do not lie on a same plane. If three coplanar forces acting on a point are in equilibrium, then each force is proportional to the sine of the angle between the another two. Yes, right. The three coplanar forces P, Q and R act at a point O. If their forces are in equilibrium, then E by sine alpha is equals to Q by sine beta is equals to R by sine gamma. According to Lamy's theorem, if the three forces acting at a point are in equilibrium, then each force is proportional to the sine of the angle between the other two. If a given force or a given system of force acting on a body, the position of the body but keep in equilibrium, then its effect is to produce internal stress in the body. Do not changes. If three forces acting at a point are represented in magnitude and direction by the third side of triangle taken in order, then the forces are in equilibrium. Yes. If the number of forces acting at a point be represented in magnitude and direction by the third side of a triangle taken in order, then the forces are not in equilibrium. Disagree. The moment of force is the turning effect produced by the force on the body on which it acts is equal to the product of the force acting on a body and is perpendicular to the direction distance of the point, and the line of action of the force is equal to twice the area of the triangle whose base is the line represented the force and whose vertex is the point about which the moment act. All of these. The moment of force P about O is, as shown in figure, is P into OC. If the number of coplanar forces acting at a point be in equilibrium, the sum of the clockwise movement must be equal to sum of the anti-clockwise movement about the point. Varigan's theorem of moment states that if the number of coplanar forces acting on a particle are in equilibrium, then the algebraic sum of their moments about any point is equal to the moment of their resultant force about the same point. According to law of moment, if a number of coplanar forces acting on a particle are in equilibrium, then the algebraic sum of their moments about any point in their plane is 0. For any stream of coplanar forces, the condition of equilibrium is that the algebraic sum of the horizontal component of all the forces should be 0. The algebraic sum of the vertical component of all the forces should be 0. The algebraic moment of all the forces about any point should be 0. It means all of the above. The force whose line of action are parallel to each other, the act in the direction is known as like parallel forces. Three forces of 100 Newton, 200 Newton and 300 Newton have their line of action parallel to each other but act in opposite direction. The force is called unlike parallel forces. Two like parallel forces acting at a distance 24 mm apart and their resultant is 20 Newton. If the line of action of the resultant is 6 mm from any given forces, the two forces are 15 Newton and 5 Newton. If the body is acted upon by a number of coplanar, non-concurrent forces, it may rotate about itself without moving, may move in any one direction rotating about itself, be completely at rest. All of these. A smooth cylinder lying on a convex surface remain in neutral convex surface remain in unstable equilibrium. Three forces acting on a rigid body are represented in magnitude, direction and the line of action by the third side of a triangle taken in order. The force and are equivalent to the couple whose moment is equal to twice the area of the triangle. The principle of transmissibility of the force states that when the force acts upon the body, its effect is minimum if it acts at the center of the body, center of gravity of the body. A smooth cylinder lying on dash is a neutral equilibrium, so horizontal surface. If three forces acting at a point be represented in magnitude and direction by the side of a triangle taken in order, the force shall be in equilibrium. Right. Two equal and opposite parallel forces whose line of action are different can be represented by the single forces parallel to the given force. Incorrect. Two equal and opposite parallel forces whose line of action are different forms a couple. Right. A couple produces rotational motion. Which of the following statement is correct? The algebraic sum of the forces constructing a couple is 0. The algebraic sum of forces constructing a couple about any point is the same. The couple cannot be balanced by a single force but can be balanced only by a couple of opposite cells. All of these. Match the correct answer from the group B to the statement of group A. The resultant of force P and Q, P is greater than Q, acting along a same straight line but in opposite direction is P minus Q. The resultant of two like parallel forces P and Q is P plus Q. The resultant of two equal forces P makes an angle theta is 2p cos theta by 2, and the angle of inclination of the resultant of two forces P and Q with the force P is q sin theta by P plus Q cos theta. If the force induced on a string AB due to the load W as shown in the figure is W cosec theta. The force induced in a string BC due to the load W as shown in figure is W cot theta. The point through which the whole weight of the body acts irrespective to its position is known as center of gravity. The term centroid is same at the center as center of gravity. An irregular body may have more than one center of gravity. False. The center of gravity of a rectangle lies at a point where its two diagonal meets each other. Agree. The center of gravity of a triangle lies at a point where its medium intersect with each other. True. The center of gravity of an isosceles triangle with base P and side Q from its base is under root 4p square minus q square by 6. The center of gravity of an equilateral triangle with the side A is dash from any of the three sides is A by 2 root 3. The center of gravity of a semicircle lies at a distance 4r by 3 pi from the base measured along the vertical radius. The center of gravity of a hemisphere lies at a distance of 3r by 8 from its base measured along the vertical radius. Right. The center of gravity of a trapezium with parallel sides A and B lying at a distance of q from its base, the value of y is h by 3 into 2a plus 3 by a plus b. The center of gravity of a right circular solid cone is at the distance of dash h by 4 from its base measured along a vertical axis. The center of gravity of a right angle triangle lies on a geometrical center. Incorrect. Match the correct answer from group B to the statement given in a group A. center of rectangle is the intersection of its diagonal. CG of triangle is the intersection of its median. CG of circle is at its center. CG of semicircle is 4r by 3 pi from its base along the vertical radius. CG of hemisphere is that 3r by 8 from its base along the vertical radius, and CG of right circular cone is at the h by 4 from its base along its vertical axis. The center of gravity of a quadrant of a circle lies along the center of radius r at a distance of 0.6 r. The CG of a triangle T section 100 mm length, 120 mm breadth and 50 mm height from its bottom is 87.5 mm. A circular hole of 50 mm diameter is cut out from a circular disc of 100 mm diameter as shown in figure. The center of gravity of the section will lies in the shaded area. The moment of inertia is the second moment of force, second moment of area, second moment of mass, all of these. The unit of moment of inertia is the area of moment of inertia of an area is meter power 4. The unit of mass moment of inertia in SI unit is kg meter square. True. A spherical body is symmetrical about its perpendicular axis along a rule. The moment of inertia of a body about its axis passing through the center of gravity is ms by 5. The radius of gyration is the distance where the whole mass of the body is assumed to be concentrated. Agree. The mass moment of inertia of a uniform thin rod of mass m and length l about the midpoint is perpendicular to the length is 1 by 3 ml square. The mass moment of inertia of a thin rod about its one end is dash the mass moment of inertia of the same rod about its midpoint 4 times. The moment of inertia of a rectangle section having width b and depth d about the axis passing through its CG and parallel to its width b is bd cube by 12. The moment of inertia of a rectangle section having width b and depth d about the axis passing through its CG and parallel to its depth is db cube by 12. The moment of inertia of a square of a side A along its axis through its center of gravity is a power 4 by 12. The moment of inertia of a rectangle section 3 cm width and 4 cm depth about x-axis is 16 cm power 4. The moment of inertia of a square of side A about its base is a power 4 by 3. True. The moment of inertia of a square of a side A about its diagonal is a to the power 4 by 12. The moment of inertia of a hollow rectangular section, as shown in figure, about the x-axis is bd cube by 12 minus small bd cube by 12. The moment of inertia of a hollow rectangle section about y-axis is not the same that about x-axis. True. The moment of inertia of a circular section about its diameter d is pi d to the power 4 by 16. The moment of inertia of a circular section about an axis perpendicular to the section is pi d to the power 4 by 12. The moment of inertia of a hollow circular section about x-axis is pi by 64 into capital D to the power 4 minus small d to the power 4. The moment of inertia of a hollow circular section about its axis perpendicular to the section is dash then about its x-axis is 2 times the moment of inertia of a triangle section of base B and height h about an axis passing through its CG and parallel to its base is bh cube by 36. The moment of inertia of a triangular section of base B and height h about its axis through its base is bh cube by 12. Moment of inertia of a rectangle section of base B and height h about an axis passing through its vertex and parallel to its base is dash then passing through its CG and parallel to its base is 9 times. According to the parallel axis theorem, the moment of inertia of a section about an axis parallel to its axis through the center of gravity, that is IP, is given by IP is equal to Ig plus AH square, where A is the area of the section, Ig is the moment of inertia of the section about an axis passing through the CG, and h is equals to distance between CG and the parallel axis. The moment of inertia of a thin disk of mass m and radius r about an axis through its center of gravity and perpendicular to the plane of the disk is mr square by 2. The moment of inertia of a thin rod of mass m and length l about an axis through its CG of and perpendicular to its length is ml square by 12. The moment of inertia of a solid cylinder of mass m, radius r and length l about the longitudinal axis or polar axis is mr square by 2. The moment of inertia of a thin sphere of mass m and radius r about the diameter is 2mr square by 3. The moment of inertia of a sphere of mass m and radius r about an axis tangential to it is 7 mr square by 5. The moment of inertia of a solid sphere of mass m and radius r is 2 mr square by 5. The moment of inertia of a solid cone of mass m and base radius r about its vertical axis is 3 mr square by 10. The moment of a force acting in the opposite direction to the section of the body is called force of friction. Agree. The maximum friction force which come into play when the body just begin to slide over the surface of the another body is called limiting friction. The friction experienced by the body when at rest is known as static friction. The ratio of static friction to the dynamic friction is greater than 1. The friction experienced by a body when in motion is known as dynamic friction. The static friction is bear a constant ratio to the normal reaction between the two surfaces, is independent of the area of contact between the two surfaces, always act in the direction opposite to that in which the body tend to move. All of these. Static friction is always greater than dynamic friction. The angle of inclined plane at which the body just begin to slide down the plane is called helix angle. Wrong. The angle which the normal reaction make with the resultant reaction is called angle of friction. Agree. The angle of inclination of a plane at which the body begin to move down the plane is called angle of friction. The minimum force required to slide the body of weight W on a rough horizontal plane is W tan theta. The body will begin to move down in inclined plane if the angle of inclination of a plane is dash the angle of friction is greater than. The body of weight W is required to move up on a rough inclined plane whose angle of friction with the horizontal is alpha, and the effort applied parallel to the plane is given by W tan alpha. Coefficient of friction is the ratio of limiting force of friction friction to the normal reaction between the two bodies. Yes. Coefficient of friction depend upon area of contact, nature of contact only. The force required to move the body up the plane will be minimum if it makes an angle with the inclined plane dash the angle of friction equal to the angle of friction. A ladder is resting on a smooth ground and leaning against a rough wall. The force of friction will act upward at the upper end. A ladder is resting on a rough ground and leaning against a smooth vertical wall. The force of friction will act 0 at the upper end. In a screw jack, the effort required to lift a load is given by P equals to W tan alpha plus phi, where W is equals to load lifted, alpha is the helix angle, and phi is the angle of friction. In a screw jack, the effort required to lower the load is dash the effort required to raise the same load is less than. The efficiency of a screw jack is given by tan alpha plus phi. The efficiency of a screw jack is maximum when alpha is equals to 45 degree minus phi by 2. Alpha is helix angle and phi is the angle of friction. The angle of the maximum efficiency of a screw jack is 1 minus sin phi by 1 plus sin phi. The velocity ratio in case of an inclined plane inclined at an angle theta to the horizontal and the weight being pulled up the inclined plane by vertical effort is sine theta. An ideal machine is one whose efficiency is 100%. The mechanical advantage of a lifting machine is the ratio of load lifted to the effort applied. The efficiency of a lifting machine is the ratio of output to the input, work done by the machine to the work done by the machine on the machine, mechanical advantage to the velocity ratio, all of these. If the efficiency of the lifting machine is kept constant, its velocity ratio is dash proportional to its mechanical advantage is directly. In ideal machine, mechanical advantage is equal to velocity ratio. An actual machine, mechanical advantage is less than the velocity ratio. A lifting machine lifts a load of 100 Newton through a distance of 0.2 meter by means of an effort of 200 Newton through a distance of 1 meter. The machine is an ideal one. True. A machine having an efficiency less than 50% is known as non-reversible machine. A machine having an efficiency greater than 50% is known as a reversible machine. A machine which is capable of doing work in the reverse direction after the effort is removed is called non-reversible machine. False. A machine which is not capable of doing any work in the reverse direction after the effort is removed, it is called reversible machine. False. A non-reversible machine is also called self-locking machine. True. A screw jack used for lifting a load is a non-reversible machine. The weight of 1000 Newton can be lifted by an effort of 80 Newton if the velocity ratio is 20. The machine is reversible. For a self-locking machine, the efficiency must be less than 50%. The law of machine is P equals to mw plus C, where P is equals to effort applied to the load, m is a constant which is equal to the slope of the line, w is equals to load lifted, and C is another constant which represent the machine friction. The maximum mechanical advantage of a lifting machine is 1 by m. The maximum efficiency of a lifting machine is 1 by m into Vr. The velocity ratio for the first system of pulley is 2 to the power n. The velocity ratio of a differential pulley block with D and capital D and a small d as a diameter of large and small pulley is 2D by capital D minus small d. Which one of the following statement is wrong? The force acting on an opposite direction of the motion of the body is called force of friction. True. The ratio of the limiting friction to the normal reaction is called coefficient of friction. True. The machine whose efficiency is 100% is called ideal machine. True. The velocity ratio of the machine is the ratio of load lifted to the effort applied. False. The velocity ratio of a first system of pulley with 4 pulley is 16. Match the correct answer with the group B for the statement given in the group A. Moment of inertia of a circular section about the diameter d is pi by 64 d to the power 4. The efficiency of a screw jack is tan alpha by tan alpha plus phi. The maximum efficiency of the screw jack is 1 minus sin phi by 1 plus sin phi. The maximum mechanical advantage of a limiting machine is 1 by m. And the maximum efficiency of a lifting machine is 1 by m into Vr. If the number of pulley in a system is equal to the velocity ratio, then it is a dash system of pulley. It is a second system of pulley. The velocity ratio of a simple wheel and axle with d and small d as the diameter of effort wheel and the load axle is capital D by small d. The velocity ratio of a differential wheel and axle with d as the diameter of the effort wheel and small d1 and d2 as the diameter of the larger and the smaller axle respectively is 2d by capital D small d1 minus small d2. The velocity ratio of a single purchase winch crab can be increased by increasing the length of the handle. The differential pulley block has a larger and a smaller diameter of 100 mm and 80 mm respectively. The velocity ratio is 10. In a single threaded wand and wand wheel, the number of teeth on the wand is 50. The diameter of the effort wheel is 100 mm and that of the load drum is 50 mm. The velocity ratio is 100. In a wand gear pulley block, if the number of teeth on a wand wheel is double, then the velocity ratio is also double. A. Yes. True. A velocity ratio of a simple screw jack with a P as the pitch of the screw and L as the length of the effort arm is 2 pi L by P. As the steel truss on a bridge have one of their end roll support, the another end hinge, the main advantage of such a support is that the truss remains stable. True. A frame structure is perfect if the number of member is dash where J is the number of joint is equal to 2J minus 3. A frame structure is imperfect if the number of member are dash 2J minus 3 are either B or C, either less than or greater than. A redundant frame is also called dash, is also called imperfect frame. A frame structure as shown in figure is a perfect frame. In a frame structure, the force in the member is numerically equal to the force in the member. Right. Which of the following is a scalar quantity? Speed. The ratio of change in the displacement of the body is called velocity. The rate of change of displacement of a body is called velocity. Which of the following are vector quantity? Linear displacement, linear velocity, linear acceleration, all of these. The negative acceleration is also called retardation. True. If the body falls freely under gravity, then the gravitational force of acceleration is taken as plus 9.8 meter per second square. If the body is thrown upward, then the gravitational acceleration is taken as 0. Wrong. If the gravitational acceleration at any place is double, then the weight of the body will be 2g. The velocity of the body on reaching the ground from the height h is rho gh. The acceleration of a body sliding down the inclined surface is g sin theta. Which of the following in the equation is a linear equation? V equals to u plus at, s equals to ut plus half at square, v square is equals to u square plus 2as, all of these. According to Newton's first law of motion, every body continues to the state of rest or of uniform motion in a straight line unless it acts upon by some external force. Newton's second law of motion gives relation between force and a mass of a body. A science teacher claimed that Newton's third law of motion is involved while studying the motion of a rocket. His statement is justified. D'Alembert principle basically depend upon Newton's second law of motion. Correct. The rate of change of momentum is directly proportional to the impressed force and take place in the same direction in which the force acts. This statement is known as Newton's second law of motion. The law of motion involved in the recoil of gun is Newton's second law of motion. If P is the force acting on a body, M is the mass of the body, and A is the acceleration of the body, then according to Newton's second law of motion, P minus Ma is equals to 0. A matter contained in a body is called mass. A force by which the body is attracted towards the center of the earth is called weight. When the body falls freely under gravitational force, it possesses dash weight. It possesses no weight. A true motion possessed by the body is called momentum. Newton is defined as the force which acts upon the mass of 1 kg produce an acceleration of 1 meter square in the direction of which it acts. A. Yes. The force applied on a body of mass 100 kg to produce an acceleration of 5 meter square per second square is 500 Newton. A lift moves towards with an acceleration of 9.8 meter per second square. The pressure exerted by the man on the floor of the lift is 0. True. When the lift is moving upward with some acceleration, the pressure exerted by the man is directly proportional to its acceleration. The tension in the cable supported a lift is more when the lift is moving dash with an acceleration upward. The tension on the cable supporting a lift moving upward is half the tension when it's moving downward. The acceleration of the lift is none of these. Two bodies of mass m1 and m2 are hung from the end of the rope passing over the frictionless pulley. The acceleration of the string will be g into m1 minus m2 by m1 plus m2. If two bodies of mass m1 and m2 are hung from the end of the rope passing over the frictionless pulley, the tension T in the string will be 2 m1 m2 into g by m1 plus m2. If the mass of body as shown in figure is double, then the acceleration in the string will be same. If the mass of the body is reduced by 50%, then the tension of the string will be half. Two blocks A and B of mass 150 Newton and 150 kg and 50 kg respectively are connected by means of string. The tension in all the three strings will be the same. If a two blocks of equal mass are attached towards two ends of the light string, and one of the block is passed over the smooth horizontal plane, while the another is freely hung. After passing over the smooth pulley, then the two blocks will have same motion. Yes, agree. Which of the following statement will be correct in connection with projectile? A path traced by a projectile in the space is known as trajectory. True. The velocity with which the projectile is projected is known as velocity of projection. True. The angle with the horizontal at which the projectile is projected is known as the angle of projection. True. All of these true. The total time taken by a projectile to reach the maximum height and to return back to the ground is known as time of flight. True. The Cartesian equation of trajectory is y is equals to x tan alpha minus gx square by 2u square cos square alpha, where u is the velocity of projectile, alpha is the angle of projection, and xy are the coordinates of any point of the trajectory after t second. The path of projectile is parabola. Yes. The time of flight t of a projectile on a horizontal plane is given by t equals to 2u sine alpha by g. The distance between the point of projectile and the point where the projectile strikes the ground is called range. Correct. The horizontal range of a projectile r is given by r equals to u square sine 2 alpha by g. The range of projectile is maximum when the range of projectile is 45 degree. The maximum height of a projectile on a horizontal plane is u square sine square alpha by 2g. The time of flight of a projectile on downward inclined plane depend upon angle of projectile and angle of inclination of the plane. The range of projectile will be maximum for the given velocity of projectile when the angle of projectile alpha is 45 degree plus beta by 2. The range of projectile on a down inclined plane is dash the range of on upward inclined plane for the same velocity of projection and the angle of projectile. Less than. Match the correct answer from group B to the given statement in group A. The Cartesian equation of trajectory is x tan alpha minus gx square by u square 2u square cos square alpha. The time of flight of a projectile on a horizontal plane will be 2u sin alpha by g. The horizontal range of projectile will be u square sin 2 alpha by g. The maximum height of a projectile on a horizontal plane will be u square sin square alpha by 2g. The time of flight of a projectile on an upward inclined plane is 2u sin into alpha minus beta by g cos beta. The unit of angular velocity is radian per second and revolution per minute. The angular velocity of a body rotating at n revolution per minute is 2 pi n by 60. The unit of angular acceleration is radian per second square. The linear velocity of a body rotating at omega radian per second along the circular path of radius r is given by omega r. The linear acceleration a of body rotating along a circular path of radius r with an angular acceleration of alpha radian per second at a equals to alpha r. Which of the following is a vector quantity? Angular displacement, angular velocity, angular acceleration, all of these. The moment of a particle round a fixed axis is circular. In order to complete a specific angular displacement by a body by a vector, it must fix the direction of the axis of rotation, magnitude of the angular displacement, the sense of angular displacement, all of these. Which of the particles move along a circular path? Its acceleration has two components. One is normal component and another is tangential component of acceleration. True. When the particle moves along a straight path, there will be a centrifugal force of acceleration as well as a tangential acceleration. Wrong. When a particle moves along a circular path with uniform velocity, there will be no tangential acceleration. Correct. A maximum displacement of a body from its mean position is called amplitude. Right. The frequency of vibration means the number of cycles per second. Yes. The time taken by a particle for one complete acceleration is known as time period. True. The period time of a particle with simple harmonic motion is proportional to the angular velocity inversely. The amplitude is always dash the radius of circle is always equal to the radius of circle. The periodic time t is given by 2 pi by omega. The body is said to move in or vibrate about a simple harmonic motion if its acceleration is directed towards the mean position. True. The velocity of a particle moving in a simple harmonic motion is dash at the mean position is maximum at the mean position. The acceleration of a particle moving with a simple harmonic motion is dash at the mean position is 0 at the mean position. The velocity of a particle v moving with a simple harmonic motion at any instant is given by omega under root r whole square minus y whole square, where r is the amplitude of motion and y is the displacement of a particle from the mean position. The acceleration of a particle moving with a simple harmonic motion at any instant is given by omega square into y. The maximum velocity of a particle moving with a simple harmonic motion is omega r. The maximum acceleration of a particle moving in a simple harmonic motion is omega square r. One end of a helical spring is fixed with the another end carrying a load W which moves with a simple harmonic motion. The frequency of motion will be given by 1 by 2 pi under root g by delta, where delta is the deflection of the spring. The acceleration of a particle moving with a simple harmonic motion is proportional to the displacement of a particle from the mean position. True. The periodic time of one oscillation for the simple pendulum is 2 pi under root L by G. In order to double the period of simple pendulum, the length of the string should be quadruple. The motion of the body for an extremity of the another is called beat. Agree. A pendulum which executes 1 beat per second is known as second pendulum. If a pendulum is taken 1 kilometer above the earth's surface in a mile, it will dash its time. It will gain its time. The length of the second pendulum is 99.4 centimeter. When a rigid body is suspended vertically and it oscillates with a small amplitude under the action of force of gravity, the body is known as compound pendulum. The frequency of oscillation of a compound pendulum is 1 by 2 pi under root gh by kg whole square plus h whole square, where kg is equals to radius of gyration about the centroidal axis and h is the distance between the point of suspension and cg of the body. The center of oscillation and center of suspension for the compound pendulum are interchangeable. True. The equivalent length of a simple pendulum which gives the same frequency as compound pendulum is kg square plus h square by h. The center of precaution is below the center of gravity of the body and at a distance equal to kg square by h. The frequency of oscillation of a torsional pendulum is r by 2 pi k into under root g by L. Which of the following statement is correct? A periodic time of a particle moving with a simple harmonic motion is the time taken by the particle for one complete oscillation. True. The periodic time of a particle moving in a simple harmonic motion is directly proportional to angular velocity. False. The velocity of a particle moving in a simple harmonic motion is zero at the mean position. False. The acceleration of a particle moving in a simple harmonic motion is maximum at the mean position. False. So the right answer is the periodic time of a particle moving in a simple harmonic motion is the time taken by the particle for one complete oscillation. Match the correct answer from the group B to the given statement of group A connecting with the simple harmonic motion. The maximum displacement of a body from the mean position is called amplitude. The number of cycles per second is frequency. The velocity of particle is zero at end of the extreme. The acceleration of the particle is zero at the mean position. The moment of the wheel in the car is combined translational translation and rotational. When a person on a bicycle drive round a curve, he has to lean dash to maintain equilibrium. Inward, the angle of inclination of a wheel when the body along a circular path dash upon the mass does not depend. The angle of inclination with the vertical is dash if the cyclist is running at a fast speed than when he is running in a slow speed. More. The force which act along a radius of a circle and directed towards the center of the circle is called centripetal force. True. The force which act along the radius of a circle and directed away from the center of the circle is called centrifugal force. Agree. The slope on a road surface generally provided on a curve is called angle of banking. The ideal angle of banking provides on a curve on road depend upon velocity square minus the vehicle. When the train is rounding a curve, the side thrust on the wheel flange is prevented by raising the outer side of the rail. Agree? Yes. The amount by which the outer edge of the rail is raised is known as super elevation. True. In rail, the super elevation is expressed in terms of difference of the level between the two rails. True. The super elevation is given by GV square by GR. The maximum velocity of a vehicle in order to avoid overturning on a level circular path is under root GRA by H, where G is a gauge of a train, V is the velocity of a vehicle, R is the radius of a circular path. The maximum velocity of a vehicle in order to avoid skidding away on the level circular path is under root mu GR. The overturning of a vehicle on a level circular path can be avoided if the velocity of a wheel is dash under root 2GR by H is less than. The skidding away of a vehicle on a level circular path can be avoided by the force of friction between the wheel and the ground is greater than the centrifugal force. The total momentum of a system of mass, that is a moving body, in one direction remain constant unless acted upon by an external force in this direction. This statement is called principle of conservation of momentum. The bodies which rebound back after impact is called elastic body. The impact between two lead shots is approximately equal to an inelastic impact. In collision of an elastic body, the coefficient of restitution is the ratio of relative velocity after impact to the relative velocity before impact. True. The coefficient of restitution for inelastic body is 0. The coefficient of restitution for elastic body is 1. Wrong. During elastic impact, the relative velocity of the body after impact is equal and opposite to the relative velocity of the body before impact. The loss of kinetic energy during elastic impact is 0. True. The loss of kinetic energy due to direct impact of the body depend upon the value of coefficient of restitution. Which of the following statement is correct? The kinetic energy of the body during impact remain constant. The kinetic energy of the body before impact is equal to the kinetic energy of the body after impact. The kinetic energy of the body before impact is less than the kinetic energy of the body after impact. The kinetic energy of the body before impact is more than the kinetic energy of the body after impact. So the correct is the kinetic energy of the body before impact is more than the kinetic energy of the body after impact. When two elastic bodies collide with each other, then the two bodies will momentarily come to the rest after collision. The two bodies tend to compress and deform the surface of contact. The bodies begins to remain in their original shape. All of these. Two balls of equal mass and of perfect elastic material are lying on a floor. One ball with a velocity v is made to struck the velocity in the second ball, and both the ball after impact will move with a velocity of v by 2. A lead ball with certain velocity is made to strike a wall. It falls down, but rubber ball in the same mass and with same velocity strike the same wall, it rebounds. Select the correct reason for the following. Both the balls undergo a equal change of momentum. The change of momentum suffered by a rubber ball is more than the lead ball. The change of momentum suffered by a rubber ball is less than the lead ball. None of these. So the answer is the change of momentum suffered by the rubber ball is more than the lead shot. If u1 and u2 are the velocities of two moving bodies in the same direction, but before impact, and v1 and v2 are their velocity after impact, then coefficient of restitution is v2 minus v1 by u1 minus u2. A body of mass m moving with a constant velocity v strikes another body of same mass m moving with the same velocity v, but in opposite direction. The common velocity of both the bodies after collision will be 2v. The rubber ball is dropped from the height of 2 meters. If there is no loss of velocity, after rebouncing, the ball will raise to the height of 2 meters. Whenever the force acts on the body and the body undergoes a displacement, then a work is said to be done. The unit of force in SI is joule. 1 joule is equal to 1 Newton meter. Work done is said to be 0 if no displacement act on a body but some displacement take place. No force act on a body but some displacement take place. Some force act on a body but zero displacement take place. So answer is either A or B. 1 joule is equal to 1 work is done by the force of 1 Newton when it displaces a body through 1 meter. Joule is the unit of work. The rate of doing work is called power. The unit of power in SI unit is joule. Watt. 1 watt is equal to 1 joule per second. The power developed by the body acted upon a torque T Newton meter are revolving at omega radian per second is given by T omega by 60. The energy may be defined as the capacity of doing work. Correct. The unit of energy in SI is joule. The energy possessed by the body for doing work by virtue of its position is called potential energy. Kinetic energy of a body dash upon the mass and velocity, depend upon the mass and velocity. The potential energy stored in the spring in compression is called strain energy. True. When the body of mass m attain a velocity v from rest in time t, then the kinetic energy of translation is 0.5 mv square. When the body of mass moment of inertia I about the given axis is rotated about the axis with an angular velocity omega, then the kinetic energy of rotation is 0.5 I omega square. The wheel of a moving car possesses kinetic energy of translational and rotational. According to the principle of conservation of energy, the total momentum of a system of mass is in any direction remain constant unless acted upon by the external force in that direction. False. The total energy possessed by a system of moving body is constant at every instant. The potential energy of a vertical raised body is equal to the kinetic energy of a vertical falling body. When a spring of watch is worn, it will possess strain energy. If two bodies having mass m1 and m2, where m1 is greater than m2, having equal kinetic energy, the momentum of a body having mass m1 is greater than the momentum of body having mass m2. Thank you for listening.